Have you ever imagined a country where a simple gesture like pointing at someone could be interpreted as an act of witchcraft? A place where elderly people are murdered for having eyes that are too red. Supposedly a sign of supernatural powers? Welcome to Burundi, one of the poorest and least known countries in the world, hidden in the heart of Africa, a place where albinos live in constant fear of being kidnapped and mutilated, as it's believed that parts of their bodies bring wealth and luck. But the horrors of this small country go far beyond superstitions. Burundi has gone through such intense political crises that scientists created the term democtatorship to describe its system, a mix of democratic appearance with brutal dictatorial practices, a place where journalists mysteriously disappear and human rights organizations are banned for revealing inconvenient truths. And most shocking, this country was a stage for one of the most ignored genocides in recent history, a bloody ethnic struggle between Hutus and Tutsis that claimed hundreds of thousands of lives while the world looked the other way. How can such a small country, with only 11 million inhabitants, squeeze into a territory smaller than Alabama, hide so many dark secrets? And is there hope for this nation amid so many challenges? Hidden in the heart of Africa, Burundi is a landlocked country, squeezed between Tanzania, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Rwanda, with only 27,834 square kilometers, smaller than Maryland. This small country surprises with its geographic diversity. To the west, Burundi is bathed by the majestic Lake Tanganyika, the second deepest lake in the world, with crystal clear waters that extend to an almost infinite horizon. To the east, verdant mountains and hills dominate the landscape, giving the country the nickname Land of the Thousand Hills, a title it shares with its neighbor Rwanda. The climate is surprisingly mild thanks to the high altitude, on average 1,700 meters above sea level, with pleasant temperatures between 68 degrees Fahrenheit and 80 degrees Fahrenheit throughout the year. 2 rainy seasons and 2 dry seasons define the rhythm of local agriculture. With 11 million inhabitants, Burundi has one of the highest population densities in Africa, more than 400 people per square kilometer. The capital, Bujumbura, is home to about 1 million people on the shores of Lake Tanganyika. Geopolitically, the country occupies a delicate position in the African Great Lakes region, where ethnic tensions and regional disputes frequently cross borders, especially with Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The history of Burundi is a tapestry of beauty, tragedy, and resilience before the arrival of Europeans. The region was home to a sophisticated kingdom, founded in the 16th century. The Mwami, a Tutsi monarch, ruled a society where Hutus, Tutsis, and Twas pygmies coexisted in relative harmony. This harmony was destroyed by colonization. In 1890, the Germans took the territory, and after World War I, the Belgians took control. They implemented a catastrophic colonial policy inspired by European racial theories, which institutionalized the differences between Hutus, 85% of the population, and Tutsis, 14%. The Belgians treated the Tutsis as superior, privileging them with education and power. This policy planted the seeds of hatred that would explode after independence in 1962, when Prince Louis Rwagasore, an advocate for national unity, was assassinated on the eve of independence. The country lost its best chance to escape ethnic violence. What followed was brutal. In 1972, the first genocide occurred when the Tutsi government massacred between 100,000 and 300,000 educated Hutus. In 1993, the assassination of the first democratically elected Hutu president, Melchior Ndadaye, triggered a 12-year civil war that killed more than 300,000 people. The Arusha Peace Agreement, 2000, attempted to establish power sharing between ethnicities, but stability never arrived. In 2015, when Pierre Nkurunziza announced his third term, considered unconstitutional, a new wave of violence swept the country. Nkurunziza died in 2020, officially from a heart attack, although many suspect COVID-19. His successor, Evariste Ndayishimiye, promised reforms, but the country remains controlled by the CNDD-FDD party, and the shadow of ethnic violence persists. Despite its turbulent history, Burundi hides tourist treasures unknown to most travelers, one of the last places where each visitor can feel like a true explorer. The crown jewel is undoubtedly Lake Tanganyika, Its crystal clear waters and white sand beaches in Bujumbura rival Caribbean destinations, but with a fraction of the tourists. Here, you can take sunset boat rides, observe hippos in their natural habitat, or simply relax on the shores of one of the oldest and deepest lakes in the world. For adventurers, Kibera National Park offers an extraordinary experience. This mountain forest in the northwest of the country is home to chimpanzees, colobus monkeys, and dozens of rare bird species. Trails through the dense forest reveal hidden waterfalls and spectacular panoramic views. Visit during the dry season, June to August or December to February, when the trails are more accessible. Another fascinating location is the source of the Nile in Kisumu, where a pyramid marks what some consider the southernmost source of the famous river. The site has an almost mystical atmosphere, surrounded by beautiful rural landscapes. But traveling through Burundi requires care. Tourist infrastructure is limited outside the capital. Hire local guides for navigation and translation, as French and Kirundi are the predominant languages. Check updated travel alerts before visiting. Avoid nighttime travel. And take precautions against malaria, endemic throughout the country. Burundians are known for their warm hospitality. It's common to be invited to share a meal or try the local banana beer. Don't miss trying the mukik, a delicious fish from Lake Tanganyika, prepared with local herbs, an unforgettable gastronomic experience. Burundi's economy is one of the most fragile in the world, reflecting its historical and geographical challenges. This small landlocked country depends almost entirely on subsistence agriculture, which employs more than 90% of the population, but contributes only 40% of GDP. The agricultural sector is dominated by coffee and tea cultivation, which represent 90% of exports. However, productivity is severely limited by archaic techniques, soil erosion, and lack of financing. Most farmers grow only to feed their families, with little surplus for sale. The dimension of poverty is shocking. The average monthly income is approximately 27,000 Burundian francs, just $13. With this almost impossible amount, a family needs to cover all its basic needs. The monthly cost of basic food for a family of four is estimated at 50,000 Burundian francs, $25, already exceeding the average income. Rent in the outskirts of Bujumbura costs approximately 100,000 Burundian francs, $50 per month, explaining why most live in self-built housing in rural areas. Galloping inflation worsens the situation. Prices of basic foods constantly increase, while wages remain stagnant. The country depends heavily on international aid, which represents about 48% of the national budget. Economic challenges are exacerbated by political instability that scares away foreign investment. Burundi has mineral resources such as nickel, uranium, and rare earth elements, but their exploitation is limited by lack of infrastructure. Endemic corruption drains precious resources. The country is among the 20 most corrupt in the world, with public officials frequently demanding bribes for basic services. Energy, dependent on imported fuels, is extremely expensive, and only 7% of the population has access to electricity. Behind the picturesque facade, Burundi hides dark realities that rarely reach international news. The persistence of witchcraft beliefs often has deadly consequences. In rural areas, accusations of sorcery lead to brutal lynchings. Elderly people with reddened eyes, the result of a lifetime cooking in smoke-filled huts, are particularly vulnerable. Albinos live in constant terror. Parts of their bodies are coveted from magical rituals. Fingers, tongues, and organs are sold for small fortunes to healers who promise wealth and power. Authorities frequently ignore these crimes, especially when perpetrators have political connections. Political brutality is institutionalized. The intelligence service Documentation Nationale operates with impunity, kidnapping, torturing, and murdering opponents. The ruling party's youth militia, the Imbonerakure, those who see far, terrorizes entire communities, demanding forced contributions and punishing anyone who questions the government. Corruption is endemic, from police officers extorting drivers to ministers embezzling millions in international aid. One scandal revealed that former President Nkurunziza ordered the purchase of a presidential plane for $23 million. In a country where most people live on less than $2 a day, press freedom is virtually non-existent. In 2015, during protests against Nkurunziza's third term, the government shut down nearly all independent radio stations. Journalists were forced into exile, and those who stayed faced constant intimidation. Jean Bigirimana, a reporter for the Iwaka newspaper, disappeared in 2016 and was never seen again. Impunity fuels violence. Those responsible for ethnic massacres have never faced justice. On the contrary, many hold high positions in government. Sexual violence is used as a political weapon, with systematic rapes of women connected to opponents during the 2015 to 2016 crises. Education and healthcare are collapsing. Teachers and doctors often go months without salaries, while resources intended for schools and hospitals are diverted. The result is one of the worst health indicators in the world, with 1 in 9 children dying before age 5. Young entrepreneurs in Bujumbura are creating tech startups that bypass poor infrastructure with creative solutions. Local doctors have developed community health programs that save lives with minimal resources. Burundi's civil society, though persecuted, shows admirable resilience. Organizations like APDH, Association for Protection of Human Rights, continue documenting abuses and defending victims, even when their members face daily threats. Women's groups are challenging cultural norms, demanding participation in decisions affecting their communities. The new generation of Burundians, connected to the world through smartphones and social media, increasingly questions the artificial ethnic divisions that Belgian colonizers imposed on their ancestors. Many young people refuse to identify as Hutu or Tutsi, preferring simply be Burundian. And there are signs, albeit timid ones, of change in political sphere. President Ndayishimiye, though far from a radical reformer, has made some gestures of openness. He allowed the reopening of some human rights organizations and initiated dialogues with the international community that his predecessor had abandoned. The country's economic potential remains largely untapped. Its fertile lands could produce much more than coffee and tea. Tourism, still in its embryonic phase, has the potential to become an important source of revenue. Mineral deposits, if responsibly exploited, could finance real development. Burundi reminds us that even in the most unlikely places, hope and human resilience persist. As a local proverb says, "Yumin Nezra Udazara Amarira Nwubana," there is no joy without tears. This small country, marked by historical traumas and contemporary challenges, continues to fight for a better future. And perhaps it's this tenacity, this refusal to give up despite all adversities, that is the true essence of Burundi. Not the shadows of its past, but a persistent light that refuses to be extinguished. The next time you hear about Burundi, remember, beyond the headlines about poverty and conflict, there exists a country of extraordinary beauty and extraordinary people who deserve more than to be reduced to statistics of tragedy. They deserve to be seen in all their humanity, with their challenges, yes, but also with their hopes, dreams, and indomitable spirit of survival.